Okay, welcome back. The last sane Friday, or quasi-sane Friday, we may experience in many weeks. We'll see. Things are looking ever more ready for a massive explosion early next week, notably Tuesday, Wednesday. We will see about that. National Guard is deployed in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia City Council has banned the police from using normal techniques in a riot situation. They are, let's see if I can find this here. They have been banned from using pepper spray, any rubber bullets, or tear gas in any riots in Philadelphia. And yet the National Guard troops are there in Philly to protect businesses and the city landmarks. So can you say bizarre? I don't know. It's really getting to be over the line crazy, and I don't see any way around it. It's going to continue. It's been planned, and this is the plan. So if you don't think it was planned out, there are some really outstanding books that are published now and are certainly about to be published. And one of them is the subject of the first hour tonight. It's called The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire. Can you say Building 7? Talking about controlled demolition. There's a perfect example of it. The book is really extraordinary because it lays things out in a very reader-friendly format, and yet the actual sections are chronological, they're progressive, they continue to build momentum. It's remarkable. The book is by Jeff Berwick with Charlie Robinson. Forward written by Doug Casey. Many of you know that name. Again, it's called The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire. From the founding of the Federal Reserve to 9/11 to the coronavirus panic. Orchestrated panic. And if you don't know about the founding of the Federal Reserve, and I think most all of you do, if you're new to the program, it's best that you look up when the Federal Reserve came into being on that Christmas Eve in 1913, when most of Congress was home. Much of it that was there was bribed and blackmailed, and they sold America out. That was it. That was really, according to many people, the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning of the end, however you want to phrase it. Charlie Robinson is back with us tonight. It's been a while, but this is a remarkable book, and I'm looking forward to talking to Charlie about it this hour. Hello, Charles. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. Hey, look, we've got an election on Tuesday. Everything's going to get fixed, right? We're going to all our problems go away magically, correct?
Can you define what election means anymore?
Oh my gosh, who knows?
How about selection? How about contrived freak show? It's all nuts. And right now, the latest Fox poll, and I wonder if there's some reverse psychology here, claims that Biden is up on Trump 52-44 for Donald Trump. And yet nobody shows up at Biden or Ho Harris events. They get a couple dozen, they get less than a dozen, they might get a couple hundred. Nobody cares. They're the most unlikable ticket I think I've ever seen by far. I mean, you can go back to Hubert Humphrey. God only knows who his running mate was. But think about it. Who likes the creeper Biden? And especially in light of what we found out about the Biden crime family in the last couple of weeks. Every minute there are more stories. Hunter Biden, more confirmation all the time about how he is locked up with the communist Chinese. And if Hunter is locked up, you can count on the fact that the old man is. The old man green-lighted virtually every one of these big money scores that Hunter was involved with. That's the word. And you think back to the Clinton crime family, and you've got to put the Biden crime family right in the same basket with them. So, Charlie, where are we? I mean, seriously, we'll talk about the book in just a minute. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning and you survey the U.S. and what we used to have here? Not very long ago either. Just about a year ago, we were sort of normal. Not anymore.
Yeah, well, we will talk about the book, but there is a chapter from the book that I think explains it, and it is the death of American exceptionalism. Lately, what we have seen has been insanity in disguised as normalcy. It's disguised as, I have to virtue signal to everybody about this virus that's out there. If I don't do it in the correct manner, then the social media mobs will come after me and have my head. So we've lost control. It's the inmates are running the
control's
asylum.
Been taken away from us. What control we had is gone, and I think it's been largely manipulated and simply removed from our purview. It's gone. We don't have it anymore. You know, how much of it did we really have? That's an arguable question, but I think you're quite right. We have no control now. Now, tell me one thing. I just got a story here. It has to do with, I guess, one of the main handlers of emails. It's called MailChimp. Have you ever heard of MailChimp?
I read the article today.
Okay, you saw it. I don't know what MailChimp is. But whatever MailChimp is, it's apparently a major sorting house for emails from everybody. And it will now, according to the story, MailChimp will now deactivate the email accounts that are caught sending what MailChimp says are false, inaccurate, or misleading emails. What MailChimp says are false, inaccurate, or misleading emails. The accounts sending such emails will be not suspended, deactivated. This is worse than anything Orwell wrote. This is crazy. This is beyond censorship.
Yeah, there's a couple people out there in the alternative media that have experienced this firsthand. Sean from SGT Report has MailChimp. Right. And what it is when you you have a website and you say, hey, fill out your information here, get on our mailing list and everything like that. MailChimp takes care of your email addresses, your list and everything. They deleted his account and kept all of his email addresses that he doesn't have access to them. Same with Dan Dix from Press for Truth in Canada. MailChimp did the exact same thing. So we're not only facing social media
censorship,
slanting and censorship and all of that. Now you can't even get away. You can't get away with your email company is looking at you. PayPal is deplatforming people, throwing people off. WordPress is doing the same thing. This is an orchestrated event. This is for those that think that this is all disjointed or just coincidence. No. I would like to let you know that this is not accidental. It is part of a coordinated event, and it's coming from people higher than them. This is coming from the Atlantic Council. This is coming from the Council on Foreign Relations and the German Marshall Fund and the Poynter Institute and NewsGuard and all of these globalist NGOs that have been set up to shape policy. And then they tell Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, this is what we're doing. David Brock, who runs Media Matters, he was a bundler for Hillary Clinton.
I know. Yeah, he's a pretty creepy guy.
Boyfriend James Alefantis, that guy.
Yeah.
He sent out a letter about 2 years ago to investors, to potential investors or maybe previous investors, looking for more money. And he said, we need more money to fight Donald Trump to make sure this doesn't happen. I got a copy of that investor letter. And it says, what does success look like? The answer is, anytime Donald Trump speaks, we silence him. Anytime anybody close to him speaks, we go after them. And then he goes on to say, we have confirmation that Twitter, Facebook, and Google are on board with our efforts to deplatform anybody. He lays it out.
Oh, there you go.
He lets the investors know this is what we're. So it's not. I mean, I'm not trying to let Sundar Pichai or Jack Dorsey or Mark Zuckerberg off the hook. in any way. I'm not trying to let them off the hook, but they are taking orders from people above them. Who's on their board of directors? Who are the venture capital companies that are behind this? Who's sitting on their board? You got a lot of DARPA guys. You got a lot of Pentagon people. You have Eric Schmidt leaving Google and going to run a division of the Pentagon. Okay, we are blurring the lines between military and big tech, and it's all very creepy and dystopian.
Right.
And then here comes the introduction of the World Economic Forum, and they're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and isn't this going to be great? And then, hey, listen, we're going to have self-driving cars and zero carbon emissions and all these great things. Who's running the technology component of the fourth industrial revolution? Isabel Maxwell is. Name ring a bell? It's Ghislaine Maxwell's sister. So these people...
Oh, slow down. You got to do that again. That has never been heard on this program before. Say that again.
The World Economic Forum, which is Davos, they have a concept called the fourth industrial revolution. Part of the fourth industrial revolution is things like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced materials, AI, blockchain, human enhancements, they call 5G, Internet of Things.
Human enhancements, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. 3D printing, COVID-19. COVID-19 was in there before COVID-19 was a big thing. They put it in there. So all of these things...
Wait till we get COVID-21. That's coming.
I can't wait, right? That's my favorite COVID. Mm-hmm. So the person that is in charge of this, the technology part of the fourth industrial revolution, is a lady named Isabel Maxwell. Isabel Maxwell.
That's incredible.
Yeah. She is she has a twin sister, Christine Maxwell, and they are the sisters of Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of Robert Maxwell. Christine Maxwell runs a company called Chiliad, which is an Israeli company. What a surprise. And what they do is they manage the FBI's counterterrorism information database. Talk about putting the foxes in charge of the hen house. You're going to let one of the Maxwell sisters, who comes from one of the best known spies in the world, Robert Maxwell, you're going to put her company in charge of the FBI's counterterrorism data. So that's one component of it. But then there's Christine Maxwell's twin sister is Isabel Maxwell. She is also very involved in tech for Israeli firms, and she is in charge of the Fourth Industrial Revolution's technology component. So these are dangerous people for sure. And their reach, their tentacles stretch everywhere. We don't have to go down the Epstein path too much, but Jeffrey Epstein, besides, compromising politicians and CEOs and all of that, was heavily financing scientists. And one of the things that those scientists were working on were things called evolutionary dynamics. They're talking about role-playing, eugenics operations. If we do this to the population, what happens? If we remove that, if we add a virus, what happens? He gave $30 million to Martin Nowak to start the program for evolutionary dynamics at Harvard, and one of the things that they were working on was population structure. So when you talk about eugenicists and these maniacs that are thinking about culling the world, it leads back to some unsavory characters, obviously, but you get Epstein involved in this as well, and his relationship with the Maxwell sisters. So the tentacles of this are far-reaching and much more dangerous than most people think.
I'm surprised that Ghislaine is still in the slammer, that they haven't gotten her out yet somehow. I'm not one who believes that Epstein is still with us, by the way. I think he's gone. They just shut him up. I don't think he's living a wonderful life with reconstructive surgery on some island somewhere. I think he's dead. It happens. They kill people. Simple.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm surprised that Ghislaine is still, seriously, locked up, that they haven't made some deal to get her out. Damn well her sisters are looking out for her and are clearly concerned about her welfare. That's just family, especially families like that. Mm-hmm. They're notorious. Robert Maxwell. If you don't know anything about Robert Maxwell, you got to go back and do just a little research, and you'll understand. I didn't know the family was that powerful. I didn't know that. That's remarkable.
And they are very upfront.
I mean, the sisters. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, the twins. They're very smart, and they're running companies. Now, they're running companies because they have access to money to start these companies, but the companies that they run are in bed with Microsoft and companies like this. So the Bill Gates connection keeps showing up over and over again. But they're also very vocal about their undying support. Their primary mission is to build companies that support Israel. They talk about that openly. And so you have to ask the question, okay, if you're running these tech companies that are in the data harvesting world, and your loyalty admittedly is to Israel, then do we have a problem here? Because it seems like this might be something that we might want to get a handle on. But God forbid you bring that up to anybody. They'll slap a bunch of labels on you for even having the audacity to question something that dual loyalties. Ooh, how dare you? Well, I have questions about dual loyalties when it comes to things like this. I mean, if you're going to be operating inside the United States and building these tech companies, but the influence and the loyalty is to a foreign country, I think we should all be, keeping an eye on that.
Just a little something wrong with that. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit,
Yeah. You're either an American citizen or you're not an American citizen. If you're an Israeli citizen, you should just declare that. Why do people with dual loyalty citizenships get all the benefits of being an American citizen, as if they were only an American citizen? It doesn't work. It's like bigamy. It's the same. You're married to 2 women, 3 women. Yeah. I don't know. It's nuts. Political bigamy is what it is.
Yep. And we're in a strange time right now where you're not allowed to question obvious conflicts of interest. You're not allowed to point out the very real issues that might be on, say, a presidential candidate's son's computer and everything. I mean, we're at a point where we say the sky is blue and we get deplatformed for it, and it's frustrating, but it's also kind of an indicator that they're losing control of things, it seems, because this crackdown, this overreach on us is only done because we're having an effect. We're having an impact. So I take that, as frustrated as I get with this new version of reality that we've been living in this year. I also am a little bit motivated by the fact that, well, they have to do this because we're getting through to people. We're waking people up. And so
there's
an indicator that we're being
effective. There's a race to shut off the wake-up effect. You're right.
You got it.
To shut it down. And that's what's going on. That's probably the biggest single thing that the dark side is up to right now. They're desperately trying to turn off awareness. And they're doing a lot of crazy stuff. This MailChimp thing is we have no email privacy whatsoever now. They're screening all emails, and they will, as I said, deactivate your account if they say, according to their terms of service or community standards or whatever the hell they call it, if they think or they claim you're sending false, inaccurate, or misleading. What the hell does that mean? Misleading emails. You're gone. You're deactivated. You can't email anymore. So when I tell you, when I watch the entire internet be constructed from the ground up, so to speak, I kept saying to myself, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? And it was all privately owned, and they were each individual corporations. And I said, my God, they'll be able to do whatever they want. This is not a government organization. It's not a federal entity. It's not. These are privately owned companies. And technically speaking, under the Constitution, they can do what they want. So it went from there to where we are now. It's total hell. They own everything. They own the way we communicate, the way we talk, the way we entertain ourselves and each other, the things we do. They've got screen addiction working for them 25 hours a day now. These poor kids are being taught in school, if they're being taught anything, being taught what to think. They're just being given reality. They're not being taught how to think or question anything. They're being taught what to think. It is worse, I think, honestly, than anything Orwell could have written. I don't think he understood back then the amount of technology that is being used now to subjugate and hegemonize all individuality is something that I think Orwell would have been astonished by. Charlie?
Yes.
Any comment? Go ahead. We're going to take a break here.
I think that people need to remember Eric Schmidt's comment that he made when you search Google. What happens?
This is
You only want one result. That's what he wants.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Talking to Charlie Robinson. Hang on. We'll be right back with more. We'll talk a little bit about this book, which is really brilliantly laid out, and we'll show you why in a few minutes. Okay, and welcome back. It is so preposterous to imagine, to even think that Joe Biden, the creeper, the mentally damaged and dying, demented pervert, is the best the Democrat, Commucrat party can put up. When you people out there who may be liberals, and we've got all kinds listening here, you're going to vote. You're not voting for Joe Biden. You're voting for communism. At the very least, you're voting for the camel. Biden's not going to last. He wants out. He's just stepping in there. He'll step right out one way or the other. Now here's another example. This guy, I've seen a video that showed the teleprompter he uses for outdoor rallies attended by, at least 10 people. This is the biggest teleprompter I have ever seen. It's like a 65-inch screen, all right? And he can't read that. Now here he is. I'm going to play this. This is incredible. He takes 3 or 4 words and puts them together as one word. And you'll just listen. This guy is really, truly unfit for office. Whoops. Where did my sound go? I just had it. Hold on. Oh, this is discouraging. Let me try it one more time here. Hold on, Charlie. I don't know where the sound was just there and then it went away. Must be MailChimp. Let's see. No, it will not play now. Okay, let's go.
I saw the clip. It's he's mushmouth.
Marble mouth.
Jeff, can you imagine? Go back to 2017, January, the inauguration. Donald Trump wins. Picture Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Brenda Snyder, all those criminals. Hillary Clinton, they all get together and they say, this can never happen again. Donald Trump can never. We've got 4 years to fix this problem. And after 4 years, the best you come up with is Joe Biden? Are you kidding me? Are they trying to lose? I can't make sense of this, Jeff.
It's the
you
camel.
See these rallies. There's nobody there.
Nobody.
I mean, if you had a nightclub and you opened it up and there were 8 people in line to get in, you'd go out of business. But this guy's ahead in the polls? I mean, they're lying to us, clearly. I mean, I'd like to remind people as well that tune into the nightly news of a little something that you've probably discussed here called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012, which legalized propaganda in the United States to be used on Americans. I would suggest that they didn't take the extraordinary step of legalizing that if they didn't intend to use some propaganda. So when we turn on our nightly news and see anything, how do you not know whether it's true or propaganda or a combination of both? I mean, when you see rallies and you look at the polls and the polls say, well, Biden's up by 12 points or anything, and you go, how? Who's answering these polls? Dead people? Like people that don't know better than to answer phone calls from pollsters or something. I mean, I look out and when I see the Trump rally, and I see thousands of people. And, they've done studies that show that the candidate with the most energy.
Direct correlation. Direct correlation.
Doesn't have to be positive energy necessarily. You can be a bunch of people that hate you too, but just energy always win. I mean, you can say what you want about Trump.
I read that story too. I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There is nothing on the Biden.
There's no way that this guy and that imbecile woman can actually be ahead. They arrested a guy in Florida today who was trying to register dead people as Democrats so he could vote for them. They're still doing that.
Yeah.
Same old.
Well, you do that when you are desperate and you feel like you're losing your grip and you're a criminal and you have no soul. You do things like that. And I, what would be easier than registering dead people and all that? Running a good candidate. Why don't they try that next time? And maybe maybe somebody that has enthusiasm. I'm not a big fan of Bernie, but at least there were some people that liked him. I mean, people showed up to see. Why didn't they run him? I think because they would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie. And that just tells you everything you need to know about the DNC and what a criminal operation that is, and and it can't possibly be working in the best interest of the people here when you're making decisions like that. So we live in some weird version of a cartoon. We have riots showing up, in the middle of the summer, and Acme, big piles of bricks from the Acme Brick Company. Jeff, I was thinking that the Roadrunner and Coyote were getting in on the action too. I mean, it was so nutty. But this is 2020. All the insanity has just been priming us for this week, for where we are right now. And it's it's the most important election of our lifetime, Jeff. As you know, I mean, we all have to get it. It just feels like we're on a bad acid trip that we can't get off of. And I don't expect things to go back to normal after the elections, but I will be glad when it is not the main topic of conversation.
We had in 2016 a campaign season that went on for 18 months. This one has gone on, I guess, for all intents and purposes, about 3 months, 90 days, something like that. Really. A shorter campaign is much better. People have made their minds up. Nothing that's going on now is really going to change that many people's minds. The Hunter Biden thing ought to change virtually the great majority of Biden-Harris supporters' minds immediately when they look at the linkage between Creeper Joe and Hunter. It's there. It's in the emails. It's inarguable. And yet people are still thinking that Biden-Harris is a better ticket. It's beyond me. You got a mentally ill old man, and there's nothing wrong with being old, but this guy happens to be demented. Then you've got basically a hooker, whore, prostitute who slept her way up into political prominence. That's the best the Democrats have. And some of you out there could say, well, what about Trump? Is that the best the GOP can put up there? I don't think so. But I do think that this is indicative, certainly emblematic, of a political system that has drowned in corruption. It's over. And I don't know how you can resurrect it or rehabilitate it at this point. Let's talk about this book, Charlie, please.
Well, it's a symptom of a dying empire. And
yes, it is.
So Jeff Berwick and I got together. Jeff Berwick is the founder of the Dollar Vigilante. He is the founder of Anarchapulco, which is the largest anarchist convention in Acapulco, Mexico. He's a Canadian guy who's been living in Mexico for 10 years. He runs a multi-million-dollar business, and he's an anarchist, and he sees the world in a much different way. And we partnered up on this book because it came out of a conversation where we were talking about the current system, and he said to me, it's all coming down. And I said, it is. You're right.
When did he say that? How long ago about?
Summer of 2018, we started on this. And in my mind, when he said that, it gave me the impression of the way a building would come down, the way you would take a building down. Yeah. And so we put on the cover of the book, the imagery of Building 7 wrapped in an American flag. And it is, And we laid it out in a way I think that makes sense for people that are trying to wrap their heads around the insanity of what we're facing. So we broke it down into 8 sections: a rotting foundation, pre-weakening of the building, identifying the support columns, rigging the detonators, who wired the building, ringing the alarm bells, pushing down the plunger, and then clearing the debris. And within each of those 8 sections, we go into a variety of topics and try and paint the picture of empires in the past, the cycle of empires. They go through 8 cycles, and
well, you historically connected the dots. I mean, it's the same basic routine each time.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Just let me read the section headers.
Please.
A rotting foundation. These are systemic issues. Section 2, pre-weakening of the building. Pre-weakening. Oh, have we seen that? Those are policies that hurt. Identifying the support columns. These need to be destroyed. The identification of the key support columns. Without those, there were 13 in the World Trade Center towers, and they all had to be cut, blown up, or the building wouldn't have come down right. It did. They cut them. Rigging the detonators. All right? Who wired the building? Ringing the alarm bells, pushing down the plunger, clearing the debris. There you go. It's a very unusual and refreshing way to assay this carnage. This is what it is. So you guys really did it. This is a brainstorm of a book. It's very smart.
Well, we were done with it in March, and the Corona situation happened, and we slammed on the brakes and said, okay, we need to give it about 5 months and see what happens. And I'm really glad we did. We went back in, we incorporated the Corona in through the whole book. And when I went back and, was rereading all the components of it, we're now looking at stuff that I had written 2 years earlier. I had to change some of the verb tenses from future to past tense because the things that we had been writing about that were going to happen had already happened. So it was a sign that we were on the right track here. And the whole point of this is that we've got to have the conversation about, we've got to be really honest about how America operates, the American empire operates. And we've got to look at historical examples of where previous civilizations, previous empires have done the same thing. We think we're special. We think we're doing things unique. I mean, maybe our technology is a little different, but the mentality, the emphasis on the military and expansion and trying to control the world, all these concepts are not new to us. They've been tried over and over again. We get into a concept in the book called the Thucydides trap, which is a Greek concept about how the rise of a new empire challenges the existing empire. And this has happened 16 different times through our recorded history. And in 12 times, it's led to war between the two. So what do we see? We take a look at our empire, the American empire that runs this planet right now. And we see the rise of China. And we watch the demonization by America of China. Some of it rightfully so, some of it hyperbolic, of course. But we watch that, and it makes me very nervous because it's falling into that same pattern. 3 out of 4 times, it's ended with war. I certainly hope this is an example where it doesn't.
What you guys have put together is a history book, a book on human history, modern human history, and the nation states and how they interact. Call them empires, whatever you want, but well done, very good. These are almost immutable laws of human evolution and devolution. It's the way it works.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's human. It's our mentality. It's what happens when you allow, psychopaths go where the hunting's good. They go into politics. They go into policing. They go into be a Boy Scout troop leader. They go into the church. They go into these places where they have access to the things that they want. So it's no surprise that we're run by psychopaths. Think of what is offered to them in Washington, D.C. If you want power, we got power. You want money? We can get you money. We legalized insider trading in 2013
it's
for
the
Congress.
Promised land. You
if
bet.
you like women, You want some nice women? We've got those. You want little boys? We got those too. It's all there for you. And you get these psychopaths that flow into these positions of power and get compromised. And then they do the bidding of the people above them. So it's no surprise that we're in the mess that we're in. And we try to lay it out in a logical way. And we also try to give people actionable information, things that they can take and say, okay, now I know this. I'm going to incorporate this into my life. I'm going to make some changes. We see this very similar to the destruction of the Soviet Union in 91. It was pre-weakened, dragged into a never-ending war in Afghanistan. Sound familiar? Had their currency manipulated, had their politicians manipulated. I mean, the whole thing was broken down. Now, it's not to say that Russia disappeared. Soviet Union disappeared. So their control of Belarus and Yugoslavia and Hungary and Czechoslovakia, all those things faded away. But Mother Russia remains. And we project that with the American empire, the same sort of thing will happen. It might be the end of the empire of America, the 1,000 military bases, the petrodollar relationship, the world's reserve currency that we have, our undue influence around the globe in, with SWIFT banking systems and our use of the military. All of these things will fade away. But Mother America, the America itself will remain. Now, what that will look like, it will be a watered down and weaker version of itself. But the reason,
look at Deagle.com. Did you see? Yeah. Excuse me, Charlie. Did you see you saw the projection? Deagle.com. It's good for you. All right. Well, the book is more than current. Deagle.com says in the next 4 years, by 2025, the population of this country will not be 330 million. It'll be 99 million. So where did 230 million people go? They're dead. They're gone. You know how many people are projected to be alive in Great Britain in 4 years?
Like half.
14 million. Not 77 million. 14 million. And you can go ahead and look at every Western white Christian nation, Italy, Belgium, France, Germany, Denmark. Look at them all. They all have similar drops in their GDP, their population. You look at Russia, China, India, Brazil. Look all over the place. And those countries are all fairly stable. They have nothing to compare in terms of the amount of drop and percentage of loss that the Western white Christian nations have. It's shocking. Deagle.com. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I got this. Let me do this real quick. I promised. I always like to make good on my promises. Here's the creeper doing his thing with words. He cannot read a teleprompter.
To mobilize true international effort to pressure, isolate, and punish.
What was that, Joe?
For American banks to be able to do business in China. He contributed to the surge of bankruptcies and American farmers. Look, I'll do what he's unable to do. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure, isolate, and punish China. Folks.
That's not marble mouth. That's brain damage.
We lost more manufacturing jobs in Pennsylvania across the country than any time in recent history. And if President Trump and Republicans don't have time to deliver an economic relief for working families and small businesses, then why, in the middle of a crisis, do they have time to confirm a Supreme Court justice so they can knock out Obamacare? I'll tell you why. He wants to wipe it off the books. Because his nominee has said that they're going to strike down the law before she was picked. Look, if they get their way, more than 20 million Americans will lose their coverage, including nearly 1 million Pennsylvanians.
He's going on. He got back on script. He could not read. And this is a gigantic teleprompter. I have a background in television news. I've never seen a bigger teleprompter. The guy can't read it. You heard what he did. He just kicked word after word and mushed the rest of them. So this is not a statesman. This is not a president. This is not a leader. This is not what we want. And when you're voting for Biden, you're really voting for Harris, Ho Harris, as president. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, it's funny to me that during the summer of 2020, what do we have? We have riots and protests about police brutality. And so who does the left pick as the vice president? Somebody that instituted that put the crime, people in prison on extended prison sentences in California and kept death. I mean, the antithesis of who you would pick, and it's almost as if either they don't care or they're not aware of it, and they have to be aware of it. They have to be aware of the optics, you would think, but maybe they just don't care. I think at its core, they just don't respect the people, and they really don't care what you think. And they also
absolutely
consider
correct.
everybody to be dumb.
Absolutely right. They don't give a damn about us. We're nothing to them. No,
nothing.
You got it.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating, but I feel like it motivates me to get up there and start talking about these things. It gets me really pumped up. I feel like it's now or never. I mean, I hate to be too dramatic about things, but if Joe Biden becomes the president and institutes his policy, he's not kidding when he mentions dark winter. I mean, there's some depth to that statement that goes back into the intelligence agencies about what the dark winter simulation is. So
no doubt.
He's telling us, I mean, how can you get enthusiastic about a campaign whose main premise is nothing will fundamentally change, everybody will be forced to wear masks, and I brought a vice president in who's in charge of locking people up. I mean, I'm so inspired to get out there and vote for Biden now. I mean, it's been an embarrassment. But you know what, Jeff? What makes me the most nervous about this is that when I see a guy like him who's given up on campaigning, he's done. Even when he campaigns, nobody shows up. When he talks, nobody can understand what he's saying. It makes me very nervous that he is so comfortable kind of calling a lid on all this press. It makes me think that he knows something we don't know, that maybe they have some component of this in the bag for them. I'm not talking about in a legal way. I'm talking about they've got some tricks up their sleeve. So that's
this
the part
is all,
that makes me nervous.
Charlie, it's all planned out. The international elite know what's going to happen. Either this is the most obscene designated loser ticket I've ever seen in my life, or, like you say, they know something we don't know. I don't think I'm incorrect in this. I think Trump will stay on for 4 more years in order to give Antifa and BLM the longevity that they want so they can keep burning, looting, and rioting, using rage as an excuse and a reason, right? Trump stole the election. God damn him, we're going to burn it down. But if Trump loses, that's it. It's part of the soap opera. Think of this as like a Shakespearean play, a tragedy. These are components. We'll find out soon enough. This won't be over on Tuesday, that's for darn sure, or Wednesday.
What will Rachel Maddow talk about for the next 4 years if Joe Biden wins? There'll be nothing. She needs Trump. CNN needs Trump. They need him. They'll never admit it.
Oh, yes. Well said. Yeah. Who else can you love to hate that much? Huh? They just don't understand that the president doesn't do much. They don't. They're just figureheads. They're puppets. They're marionettes. They're manipulated. Go ahead.
He gets people riled up, though, man. He gets people really upset at him. And he gets people passionate, positively and negatively. I mean, he's got people's emotions. And when he gets out there and talks, people listen to what he has to say. Who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Howard Stern, in a sense that when Howard Stern put out Private Parts, there's a scene in that movie where he said, the people that love me listen to me for an hour. but the people that hate me listen to me for 2.5 hours, and that's where we are in this country. I think a segment
That's a great
of
line.
the population is addicted to Donald Trump, to his insanity. They see that and they go, I just have to, it motivates them, it fires them up and makes them insane and crazy. The leftists are screaming at the sky.
I think
and all
there is a possibility of an addiction, a hate addiction. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to hate a brain-damaged, dying old man or some whore? Really. The guy is too colorful. Whether his hair is orange or white, doesn't matter. He's still colorful. His skin's always orange. So anyhow, hang in there. Talk soon.